Beware Sarita, the Soul Eater. Ever since I could remember, I had the ability to see that which others couldn't. You may have heard the words ghosts, spirits, phantoms, apparitions. Well, these are words often associated with what I see. However, I just call them my friends. It isn't uncommon for others to see what I see. However, as they grow older, they usually lose the ability to see them. That sixth sense, psychic, is a sense that withers away by the age of 7 for most. I guess I'm one of the exceptions. At 25, it hasn't withered away for me. In fact, it's only gotten stronger, and it's starting to freak me out. I'm starting to see a lot more than just ghosts. Being a child, I hadn't realized that others weren't able to see what I saw. It was just normal to me. They started off as faint glows, but eventually, by the age of 9, they were fully formed people. However, these ghosts would often appear to me in the state in which they met their demise. Some were missing limbs, parts of their faces, some were burnt to a crisp. When I saw my first ghost that had been in a horrible accident, I freaked out. At 9, it's more than any other child would have to see. I remember running to my mother and explaining to her that a boy with a dislocated jaw, half-crushed skull, and bulging eyes had been following me around. My mother first wrote it off as being a bad nightmare, but eventually, after the 5th, 6th, and 7th time I came to her screaming, she knew something beyond her comprehension was going on. We've tried doctors, medication, meditation, and even hypnosis to try and be rid of what I was seeing, but it was to no avail. As I said, my sixth sense only got stronger. That boy in the accident that I saw at 9 is still present in my life. His name is Rody, and I honestly couldn't imagine my life without him. He's my best friend. I can't count how many times he's helped me throughout my life. When I didn't know the answer to an exam, he would tell me what the smartest person in the class put down as their answer. When I got picked on by a student, he would literally haunt them until they stopped. He gave me girl advice, life advice, and has just always been there for me. We both watched each other grow up, but at the age of 25, I've noticed we've been growing apart recently. He checks up on me every now and then, but then disappears, sometimes for a week, sometimes longer. It's not like I can just text him, and so although he's already dead, I worry about him sometimes. It's been a month since I've last seen Rody. I've asked other ghosts if they knew where he was. I've gone to all his favorite spots, but I've had no luck. That is until October 20th. The time was 8 p.m., and I had decided to go out for a jog. It was dark out. Most people would rather jog in the morning, but I feel most comfortable when jogging at night, since that's when most ghosts show themselves. Over the years, Rody has introduced me to all his friends and other ghosts he's gotten to know. I've become quite acquainted with so many of them. At this point, they're like family. About 2 minutes into my jog, however, I noticed that there were no ghosts. I usually see Mr. and Mrs. Chang seated on their front lawn, rocking back and forth on their rocking chairs. I always found it quite amusing when others that couldn't see the Changs would witness the chairs rocking. Some would say it's the wind, but others would genuinely get spooked and run away. However, another 3 minutes into the jog, and I see that the Changs weren't there either. Had I finally lost my sixth sense? Was I never going to be able to see my best friend again? These were some of the thoughts that ran through my head as I tried to calm my nerves. The feeling of fear started to creep towards me. Have I lost the only friends I had? Hello there. I hear the voice come from behind me. I turn around to see a gentleman dressed in a suit looking directly at me. This wasn't a ghost. He didn't have the distinct glow like the others. In fact, at first glance, I thought it was just another person out for a late night stroll. However, when I looked into his eyes, I saw that they were shaped like those of a snake and were red. You can hear me? He asks, surprised by the fact that I could hear him. He steps forward to examine me. Frightened, I step back. I realized something was not right about the situation. You can also see me. How interesting. He seems to smile at my fear. What are you? I asked. How rude of me not to introduce myself to you. My name is Sir Arnold Reginald. You'll have to excuse my reaction. I don't encounter many humans that can actually see me. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know this entity, whatever it was sketchy. Rhodey had always warned me several times of evil entities that lived within his realm that were out to get ghosts like him. He didn't talk much about them, but Rhodey's world was dangerous and filled with entities hunting them down, trying to capture their lost souls. You didn't answer my question. What are you? I say sternly, trying to show that I wasn't afraid of it. He stares at me, and in that moment, I felt like a lamb being stared upon by a predator. I am known as Sarita. My function is to help lost souls cross over, he replies. Part of me used what he told me to rationalize that if what he was saying was true, then it would explain why there weren't any ghosts here anymore. Immediately, the thought of Rhodey pops into my head. Have you by any chance crossed paths with a Rhodey? He usually hangs out around this area. Rhodey? Doesn't ring a bell. Who is he to you? He's a friend. I haven't seen him in some time now. A human. Friends with a ghost. Now this is something that you do not see every day. After he's done laughing, he looks me in the eyes, his demeanor changing almost instantly. I could help you reach him, if that's what you want. Without thinking, I reply, how? Well, you could call out to him from our realm. It's quite a simple process. Place your hand on mine and you'll cross over into our realm. But not to worry, it only lasts a few seconds. If you call out to him, his name will echo throughout our realm and reach him within seconds. If he is in fact still here and hasn't crossed over, he will hear you. The man reaches out his hand and I stare at it. In the back of my head, I still had my doubts about him, but I found myself reaching out for his hand. As I draw closer, I hear a familiar voice shouting at me. "Don't do it! Don't do it, Lee!" It was Rhodey. Upon hearing his voice, Sarita pushes his hand upwards in attempt to make me touch him, but I'm able to pull back at the last second. "Rhodey? Run, Lee!" Rhodey shouts. I turn and run towards my apartment. As I do so, I hear and see other ghosts that have surrounded Sarita. They were all ghosts that I had formed a relationship with over the years. Thanks to Rhodey, the street lights suddenly begin to flicker and spark. All the electricity seemed to be getting siphoned from them and entering the ghosts until they finally unleashed it onto Sarita. The evil entity screams in pain, and its true form begins to appear. It possessed long horns and the feet and torso of an ox. It was monstrously tall and was unlike anything I've ever seen. Despite the amount of electricity that struck the demon, it lunged forward at Rhodey. Its mouth opened wide, revealing teeth so sharp I felt as though I may get cut just glancing at them. In that moment, I watched as my best friend, the Shangs, and the other neighborhood ghosts evade and fight against the entity. I turned around having seen enough, and knowing I wasn't safe and that I wasn't meant to be meddling in the affairs of this realm, I ran for my apartment. I didn't stop until I got there, locking the door and sealing myself in my room, just staring at the door, hoping nothing came in. "You really think a door is gonna stop him, Lee?" I turn around to see my friend Rhodey, except he looks a bit different than usual. I freeze, noticing that his jaw was no longer dislocated, his eyes were no longer bulging, and his head was no longer dented. He looked like he'd never gotten into an accident. "Hey Lee, like the new look? Behold, the new and improved Rhodey," he says, seemingly ecstatic. "How is it that you got uglier?" I say, jokingly. Our friendship consisted of us poking fun at one another. It was one of the things that I liked about our friendship, in that we never took ourselves too seriously. "Asshole, believe it or not, I've moved on." "What do you mean by moved on? Like, to heaven?" "No, not exactly. However, it's a realm far better than this one. Many of us are passing over, which is causing a rift within this realm and welcoming evil spirits to take over. Speaking of, you were seconds from joining me in the next world. What on earth possessed you to try and touch a demon?" "Demon?" "He said his name was Sarita, and that he helps ghosts move on. I thought he could help me find you. Speaking of, where the hell have you been for the past, 30 days? What? You're counting the days I'm gone? You sound like a jealous ex right now, and it's really not a good look on you. Look, I'm sorry, but when I heard about a way to leave this realm, I had to investigate it. As fun as it's been hanging out with you for the last 16 years, I have to move on. I'm finally ready to explore what's next for me." Why does this sound like some sort of goodbye? "It is, Lee. You've been doing fine without me. You'll make new friends, ones that are actually alive, hopefully. Find a girl, start a family. Trust me, you won't want me around for that." I want to argue with Rhodey, be selfish, and tell him to stay, but who was I to keep him from moving on and pursuing whatever afterlife is waiting him? Sounds like it's time for me to move on as well. I haven't seen you look this happy in a while. I'm happy for you. Besides, this won't be the last time we see each other. When I pass on from here, I'll look for you." Rhodey has a saddened expression on his face. "Yeah, about that. The reason for why your ability to see beyond your realm has persisted is due to my close involvement in your life. The very fact that you were able to interact with a demon is even more reason for me to stop meddling with your life and trying to live vicariously through you. You'll no longer have to worry about the Soul Eater or any other demon for that matter. But once I move on, for good, you'll forget about everything outside the normal scope of humans. No demons, no spirits, no me. This was a lot for me to take in. Over the years, Rhodey has become more than just a friend, but we were like brothers at this point. Being an only child, Rhodey very quickly filled the void of a sibling I always wanted. And as I mentioned, he was there for me. No one knew me better. So, this is goodbye then. Yes. This is goodbye. That night, Rhodey and I said our goodbyes, and I haven't seen him since. It's been 5 years, and although I would like to say that I've moved on, the truth is, I haven't. Not because I don't want to, trust me. There is nothing I want more, but it's that the memories of Rhodey, of his realm, have showed no signs of dissipating. Over these past 5 years, they've only gotten stronger. So much so that I often find myself walking between this realm and others. I try to ignore it, but when running, getting coffee, going to work, driving, I see demons lurking about, staring at me. It's only a matter of time before they try and make a move. If you're like me and see ghosts, I urge you to please find me. We must protect each other, for there is no one left to protect us.